Yo, good morning everybody. How we all doing today? We just got the 20.2.2 patch notes released real quick. So before stream today, figured I'd record the portion of the patch review that'll be requested repeatedly all day and link people to that so that we're not constantly saying the same thing all stream. I mean, I love talking about the patch, but you might as well do it in one place, right? All right. Let's get to the Battlegrounds patch notes because that's what we care about. Number 1, down we go, all the way past all these standard changes. In Battlegrounds, balance updates. Barrens Blacksmith gone. Poof. Thank God. Like, this card has been here and ruining the game for so long. I mean, it's fun to have it as an experiment. At first, we realized how strong it was. The meta very quickly became a combination of going to 3-on-3 and utilizing this card heavily in the last patch, at the end of that patch, and then a ton in this patch. The power level of the tier 3 Quillboars in combination with Barrens Blacksmith. Wow. It was a little bit much. It's gone now. We can put it out of our minds. Just forget it ever existed. Because please don't bring this thing back. Please. Thank you for removing it, Blizzard. Thank you for listening. All right. Roadboar used to be a 2-4 on Tavern 2, is now a 1-4 on Tavern 2. This is a good precedent. This set of nerfs that we're seeing out of this patch, and you'll continue to see, is exactly what I want to see out of Blizzard. Which is that they are taking quick action on Battlegrounds. They saw something was overpowered, and they're doing small incremental nerfs. Small buffs, small nerfs, repeated patches, small patches. That's what the game really needs to stay fresh and healthy and blah, blah, blah. Everybody that watches, the Twitch side of this channel knows how I feel about patches. Every time you get a patch, you have a million things to learn, a million things to figure out, and that is the magic. That's what we want. Keep changing things like this. Please give it to me. So we bring Roadboar down a little bit in power. It is a scaling unit. It gives a 1/1 a buff a turn, pretty much if you get it early enough in the game for the first 5 or 6 turns. Turns out when it's one of the strongest stat lines in the game to start and then scales, it makes all other cards pretty bad at the Tavern tier. Now it's not very strong to start, but it scales. So weak now, strong later, that's good. Strong now, weak later, that's good. Strong now, stronger later is overpowered. All right, we fixed a problem, a small problem. Now what else did we do? Pulled down Prophet of the Boar from 3-3 to 2-3. This is basically pack leader treatment. It is a supplemental card that enables a strategy. They moved it from a 3-3 to a 2-3, exactly what they did to pack leader with beasts. It's a big deal. 2-3s don't trade well on Tavern 2. 3-3s do. It usually would equate to like buying this one before and buying it now if everybody say plays on 2 on turn 3. Will probably equate to 3 to 5 hit point difference in the mid game by having 1 less attack on 1 minion. That's actually a difference. It's actually a difference. So small change, but a good change. They're basically pulling down power of Quillboars as a whole because Quillboars were too strong, right? Not the most exciting change, but a good change. Banner Boar reduced by 1/1 from 2/5 to 1/4. Crazy. No, nobody saw this card being a problem. I'm really glad they did this. They keep the scaling engine in the mid game. It keeps boars relevant, but also makes this card trash to pick up for tempo. Kind of like Iron Sensei is trash to pick up for tempo, right? But it has an upside. It's a good unit. At a 2/2 for Iron Sensei, a 1/4 gives a different flavor for the Banner Boar, but it also makes it still retain its value in scaling. Good change. I'm not sure it's enough, to be honest. I still think this card is what drives Quillboars in the mid game. It is incredibly strong, and it will continue to be incredibly strong. Bristleback Brute. Old. Gained 3/3 for each blood gem, 3/3 extra. Now it gains 2/2 extra. This was a nerf we said from prior to the first patch. This card was too strong. It scales too quickly. These 2 cards, this one and this one, for Reno, made going to 3-on-3 and just golding the first one you saw a top 4 strategy almost every single game. Yeah, like our Reno results, we played Reno, 10 times this patch so far and had like a 2.0 average with it. Turns out going to 3 on turn 3 and then just golding these things wins you points. Wow, crazy. And that's in top 15 in North America. Literally the best lobbies in the world, keeping about a 2.0 average on Reno. 2.0. That means second place on average. It is absurdly broken by just golding these things. Wow, I'm shocked. You mean when one tribe's really good and you find one as Reno and you make it gold, it carries you? Yeah, crazy, right? This is a good change. The combination of the two is still very strong. Buying either of them by themselves is not nearly as strong. Okay, we'll bring things down a little bit. Groundshaker. So the succinct way to describe this nerf is Groundshaker doesn't buff itself anymore. I mean, there's a lot of text there, but it's 2 attack for everything before and now 2 attack to all other units. So it doesn't buff itself. Very, very, very small change to one of the strongest cards in the meta. And if you do not believe that Groundshaker is one of the strongest cards in the meta, my God, I've got some news for you. Try out this card. Try it with a bunch of Blood Gem Generators and Divine Shields on the board. This card is going to be your new meta. This right here, I mean, it's already most of the, like a big portion of high MMR meta right now was Groundshaker builds. They didn't touch the combo. The combos that make Groundshaker work, like Flat Tusk or the amount of gems coming out of banner boars and everything else. The only Blood Gem generation that was nerfed is coming up in a couple cards. Wasn't really as big of a deal as it may seem. Dynamic Duo was reduced heavily by a 2-2 buff from a 5-6 to a 3-4. I don't see this being a big deal, to be honest. I expected this to go to Tavern 5. The problem is you get this card early, and the amount of blood gems that are in the game, this thing gets huge. Now it's just huge minus 2-2. Okay, so it's not as impactful the first turn you play it, and the second turn it's a little bit smaller. Still the same problem, still gets outrageously big. And if you're far enough ahead in the mid game, then losing one fight probably doesn't make much of a difference. Now, I mean, the combination of all of the nerfs together may pull everything back in line, but this seems like it's not quite there. I'm very shocked that this thing's still on Tavern 4. I expected like a revamped version of this on 5, and maybe they move one of the 5s down to 4. Or something. I don't know. This one seems a little weird. Guess we'll play and find out, right? No need to overreact. We have a whole meta to play. We have all the games in the world to figure this out. Can't wait. Bonker. This is the big change. Bonker went from a 4-7 to a 3-7, but the gold version only generates 1 blood gem per hit instead of 2 blood gems per hit. Now, to be fair, I think I've had a gold Bonker maybe, 2 or 3 times out of 100 and some games this patch. Picking a bunch of these up and golding them doesn't happen that often at high MMR. But when it does, it blows out the lobby, right? You get this thing, it gets a couple blood gems, it's a 20 health Mega Wind Fury that generates 8 blood gems the next turn, and then you just throw them back on it. You end up with a board state that obliterates people. This is good. This is a really good change because it removes that blowout potential from the game. It wasn't a healthy mechanic to have, this being like effectively 8 blood gems a turn. Not a bad nerf. Other big change is Charlga dropping from a 7-7 to a 4-4. They gave it the Little Rag treatment. They ripped all of its stats off and kept the text the same. Remember how Little Rag, when they kept moving it between 5 and 6, and they put it back on 6, and they dropped it to a 4-4, then everyone that tripled into it died? So what's happened with the elementals, right? You're like, oh, Little Rag, that's pretty cool, and you're still on 5 with elementals, and you just died, and the average win rate with tripling into 6s and taking Little Rag was significantly worse than everything else. Like, it was better to take Zap than to take Little Rag when it was a 4-4. And your play impact after that turn. Now, obviously, if you can go to 6, then blah, 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 but you're taking a no-impact triple and then trying to level to 6. Charlga, it still gives a 7-7 to the board, so you're buying an 11-11, the turn it's played. That's still really, really, really strong. What I'm trying to illustrate is the fact that a 7-7 to a 4-4 nerf is a major, major nerf. But the blood gem effects on this are significantly better immediately than, say, Little Rag. So you end up in a scenario where this is still a very strong card. Whether it's not an auto pick every single time now, but it's still very strong. What shocks me is what they, like, outside of the scope of looking at the patch notes here, and a final thought, is that they really didn't touch the strongest engine in the game. And that is the amount of blood gems that can be generated outside of Bonker, which is not really that that often that you get a golden Bonker, and Groundshaker. The combination of those two together gets an average of like 14 attack to 16 attack across your entire board every turn. Now, I guess you don't buff Groundshaker now, but that's a relatively small change. And you just put Divine Shields on the board, generate Blood Gems, and just lean into this card. That has not been touched. Flat Tusk is absolutely untouched. The, who's a good boar? The Agamagan, the Great Boar, not touched at all. No, I don't think Agamagan by itself is a problem. They didn't touch Agam, the 5-star. The fact that Flat Tusk and Agam has not been touched. Flat Tusk, Agam, Agamagan, like that entire combo. Okay. Now, obviously, I think those are very strong things. But we just nerfed like 8 cards in this set. Let's be realistic. We can evaluate if these nerfs had the intended impacts and then change from there. Blizzard has shown that they're willing to nerf things that are outliers pretty quickly. We've had this a week. Maybe a week from now, we have another patch if needed. Maybe this tunes it to where we need to be. We can't really tell as players, right? Let's go play the game. We'll be fine. All right, everybody. Good luck out there, and I'll see you guys on stream. Peace. Starting up in a few minutes, or I'll be on. If you look at this video in the next like 7 hours, I'll just be on Twitch. So, peace.